Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today on ClueCon Weekly. So before we begin, I have three really quick announcements. First one being that you can get live FreeSwitch training at IT Expo next month. That's February 12th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's an all-day event. There's going to be several sessions where you can learn how to install and configure a working FreeSwitch system. The weather is going to be beautiful. We're all going to be there, and Anthony Minasali is going to be giving a talk at IT Expo as well. So don't miss out on that. If you're interested in registering, I will post a link in the description of this video so you can register with ease. Second order of business is that it is FreeSwitch's 15th birthday month. So this January, we are celebrating the 15th anniversary of the FreeSwitch open source project. There's a million ways to celebrate. You can wish us a happy birthday on our social media. You can also join us on our community Slack channel, signalwire.community, where you can join our FreeSwitch channels, our ClueCon channels, SignalWire channels as well. It's a great place to just keep in touch with the team, ask questions about FreeSwitch, show off some of your projects, and just keep in touch with the open source community. Last order of business is about ClueCon, of course. Right now, for the month of January, we are running our early bird special. You can register for a ticket to ClueCon at $5.99. And what makes ClueCon really special is that we are a big family. So no matter when you sign up for ClueCon, one registration is going to give you access to every event that we're throwing. That's all of the talks, all of the workshops, all the breakout sessions, every networking event, the lunches, the dinners, everything that we're doing, you are officially invited to with just one registration. So if you already know that you're going to ClueCon, you should definitely take advantage of this special pricing. But if you're not so sure yet, you can learn more about us at ClueCon.com, or you can ask us some questions in that community Slack channel that I mentioned earlier. Now that's all I have for right now. I'll be back next week and we'll hand it over to David so we can start ClueCon Weekly.
Well, we're back with another ClueCon Weekly, and this week I'm very excited to have Tsahi Levent-Levi. Did I say that right, or did I get that wrong?
Obviously, you're wrong, but that's okay. It's Tsahi Levent-Levi, and usually I don't expect people to know how to say my name, how to pronounce it.
Well, thank you. It's great to have you on, Tsahi, and I was really thrilled and blessed to be at the Cranky Geek not that long ago in San Francisco. Tell me, before we just do a little bit of background on you, Tsahi, what is it that gave rise to the Cranky Geek? Because I know you do it with Chris. Is it Chris Cranky or Chris Cronky?
It's Chris Kernker. I think his name is harder to spell and to pronounce than mine. And also with Chad Hart. So we are a threesome doing that. And it's with Google. It started simply by Serge Lachapelle, product manager for WebRTC at Google years ago. I think it was 2015. Coming to me at some other conference and saying, you're going to be invited to Google I/O. Invited means I still need to pay everything, and that's like transatlantic flight, hotels, registration to Google I/O, which was $900 at the time. And he said, no, we can, if you ask nicely, we can probably arrange something. So I decided to do something else. I was stupid at the time, and I told him, Serge, what if me, and I looked over my shoulder, Chris were there, and I said, what if me and Chris are going to do a one-day event, half-a-day event about WebRTC for developers? Would that help you in helping me? He said, yes, that's fine. So we did the first event, and then we just continued on doing them.
Right, so you co-located it and co-timed it with a Google I/O.
Yes, we planned to do it before Google I/O and ended up doing a day after Google I/O. And from then on, it was just whenever the same location in the Google office in San Francisco on Spear Street had an opening, and it fit with all the stupid Jewish holidays, we ended up doing the event anywhere between September to November.
Great. And actually rewinding from that, of course, Cranky Geek is all about WebRTC. I'm guessing you were in the communications industry before WebRTC came along. What was it that sparked your interest in it and sort of made you kind of devote your life to it in a way?
Well, I started developing at the age of 13 as work, not as a hobby. And then after university, I started looking for a real job, something that goes full time. I had a few suggestions. One of them was in Rad Vision, and it was, I guess, the most interesting one. Not sure why at the time. And I then ended up there working on H323, the protocol stack, as a developer.
Great stuff.
Yes, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Dealing with communication is fun because there's a lot of things that you need to do that are synchronous. So it hurts the brain thinking about these things most of the time. You do this, you need to wait until that happens, but if timeout comes and all of these state machines. So it was always interesting to do, and it's second nature now to do these things after so long.
Yes, H323, I remember it well. There was a time when kind of H323 and SIP were a little bit like VHS and Betamax. Didn't know whether we were going to be using port 1720 or port 5060.
Yes.
But in learning about H323, you probably learned quite a lot about Euro ISDN as well, because I think H323 has some commonalities with the ITU Q931 spec.
Funnily, I know about ISDN as much as I know about SIP, but it's not that much.
Right.
But I can probably do packed encoding rules for SN1, without thinking about it.
Now, Tsahi, I understand that you may have prepared a presentation to share with us today.
Yes, I created a few slides to take a slightly different look about WebRTC than what I usually do. And this goes with the things that I deal with for the last 2 or 3 months, I'm guessing. So what we did for Cranky Geek was show this specific slide, if you recall.
Great. I'm just going to switch over to screen sharing now, so we'll see you and your slide. Here we are.
Okay. So what we did then was I took Stack Overflow and checked 3 different tags, WebRTC, SIP, and VoIP, to see what's the interest for developers around that. And Stack Overflow simply places the percentage of questions on Stack Overflow around these topics. And you see how WebRTC got off, and well, SIP and VoIP a bit less.
Yes.
So WebRTC is a lot more popular than other voice over IP technologies, especially if you look at what developers are doing with it today, at least from the point of view of Stack Overflow. But we are, and we're going to stay, a very niche type of a solution. We're below 0.1%.
That extra interest there was by design, wasn't it? Because one of the ideas behind WebRTC was making it available to people that weren't comms experts, if you like.
Yes, there is that, but there is the second part of, not everyone needs to do that. This isn't like I'm going to add a new HTML element called button. So people can use it to put it on their screen and, surprise, all websites in the world have a button on them. So there is no expectation that we'll reach 100%, probably not even a percent of the websites, and hence the number of questions are low as well. But when you check, for example, interest around WebRTC, it's a lot higher than that. There was, I don't remember where I saw it last week. There was a large research or poll or survey that was done around web technologies. And WebRTC was quite high. It surprised me, the number of people that know about it or use it.
Right.
Now, we're today at WebRTC 1.0. It actually is going to happen this year, unless they screw it up somehow. It seems like the whole specification is already available and ready. It's just a matter of moving from a CR state to PR state and then to a recommendation state, which means that it's going to be stable. So this should happen this year, and probably, I guess, in the first half of the year versus the second. And we're starting to talk about NV, the next version of WebRTC. Somewhere in between there, we lost the fact that we have a lot of products that are already using WebRTC and using them in the market. Okay, and the challenge with WebRTC is that it sits exactly between two different paradigms. The one that deals with VoIP and traditional VoIP, okay, and the one that goes and sits in the web, the internet itself.
Right.
Now, when I thought about it, there's one more thing about that. WebRTC doesn't happen in a void. There are other things that are happening, and WebRTC is just a part of these things. And it's like a chicken and an egg. And I think that WebRTC wasn't done in, it wasn't created in a void, but things happened that made WebRTC happen. And it's not just Google. And the first thing is obviously cloud computing. Cloud computing is it goes hand in hand with WebRTC because everything moves towards the cloud today. And if you look about the successful IPO of Zoom at this point in time, Zoom doesn't use WebRTC on one hand, but Zoom is probably the most dominant cloud video conferencing vendor today.
Right.
Some companies started before, attempted. Zoom was the one that succeeded. But at the end of the day, cloud computing powers what people are doing with WebRTC, and the fact that this becomes a lot more popular and a lot more available. Now, the second thing is machine learning and artificial intelligence. We are going to see more and more of them, and are going to be a part of WebRTC. Some of it is already trickling and part of WebRTC, like things that are done inside the Opus codec, and we're seeing machine learning coming to other areas where WebRTC is used. Then there is the whole thing around privacy and security and all of these things. WebRTC is private by design. No other VoIP protocol that I know is private by design. They just have such a configuration that allows them being private. With WebRTC, it's all encrypted to begin with.
Yes, although in my experience, when you talk about communications over the web, people kind of tend to think that that's insecure. But as you've already said, it's actually more secure than other communications methods.
Yes, and the second reason that is more secure because it's done in a browser, and someone updated the browser for security patches, and it was done without your knowledge because browsers today update automatically. They don't wait for you to do anything. Then there's this iGen, all of these kids. So I just looked it up, and yes, iPhone was released in 2007. That's when my daughter was born. Both of my kids grew up in a world that has an iPhone in them. Okay, they have Androids, not iPhones, but for them, my son doesn't do voice calls. He just does video calls. He goes to WhatsApp, click the video button, and that's it. The idea of just doing voice doesn't appeal to him. And I don't think that either one of my kids ever picked up the phone and dialed the way we dialed as we were kids. Putting a number in and pressing call button or using the rotary phone.
Yeah, I've noticed in older people than the iGen that they tend to use things like WhatsApp for voice messaging backwards and forwards. So they're still not dialing anybody, but it's kind of an out of time voice messaging system.
Yes, and kids also do it all the time until they can actually type well. So my son did it until I think third grade, and now he's actually typing messages.
Right.
So the whole use and experience of communication is changing. And then there's the next billion. People talk about who are going to be the next billion people that are going to be on the internet, and they are again going to change a lot of the things that we're doing and how we do it. And WebRTC is also a part of that. Okay, these are like big ideas and thoughts and what comes in, but it trickles in a lot of the people that I speak with and the things that they are doing with WebRTC. So that's where it fits in. But at the end of the day, you have products and they're running and we're using them. Like this call that we're doing over WebRTC within SignalWire with a video call and screen sharing, and we're recording it, and we're meeting. So there are products. And then the question is, if WebRTC is here to stay, how do we support the users properly? Okay, what are the things that we need to do? Because we move towards cloud computing, and with people that are very comfortable in using these types of services. Okay. Now, a lot of things can go wrong along the way. You put out a service, you've built your own software, it is running. Someone built the browser, that's running, but you're not in control of the browser. You might control the infrastructure that you have, but your infrastructure today is running probably in AWS or some other data center or cloud that you again don't control. Someone else controls that. And the user comes in from wherever, over the internet, from a phone, from a PC, 3G network, cellular network, 4G, 5G, you name it, Wi-Fi. And you don't control the user's network either, or the device that he is using, like these headsets, or the PC that I'm using. And all of these things are going to come back at you as complaints and questions and problems from customers. And I think that the services that are going to win are the ones that are going to be able to handle that properly. A good example, last week, Coview had a blog post saying that they now have a chatbot on their service. And if you have issues, they can ask the chatbot, and there's a decision tree in there that will check what kind of issues you have and try to guide you, instead of them having a support person deal with these things that always come up one time in the game.
That's an interesting point, and I can see that a kind of generic decision tree would be good. However, when we get down to basics, there are just so many variables in each branch of that tree, aren't there?
Yes, and it's all true. And I think that what we need to do as an industry now is not only focus on how you build and develop an architecture these types of solutions, but also what happens on the other side of supporting them. I'm also CEO and co-founder of a company called TestRTC, where we do testing and monitoring. About a year ago, Talkdesk came to us and said, we want a service that does A, B, and C. And I told them, we don't have it. And they said, okay, but we want you to build it for us. And we ended up going and building that for them, with them, and made it into an open service that anyone can use, a network testing tool, like a page that you can set the customer, and from that, the support guy gets all of the information that he needs. Okay?
Great idea.
And yes, and this was one of these things is aha moments for me that told me, there are other things other than all of the developers and DevOps stuff and making the thing run. You need to actually go and see the customers. And from that, we ended up at TestRTC doing a lot more project and products around support tools. Okay,
Tsahi, sorry, let me stop you. Did you say it's called deskstar.pc?
No, Talkdesk, and the service is, let me just show it, that would be the easiest while we're screen sharing. Let's go to network.testrtc.com. Okay, so you send the customer to this page, or the one that is branded and works with your service. Click the start button, it runs, it does all the tests, and all the information here you get in the backend as well, as the man behind the service. Okay, and that solves the problem, for example, of you're saying that you have issues and you can't connect, or the quality is bad. Now I need to understand if it's me or you, if it's in my service or your network. Okay, so it just collects the data and make it easier to solve the problem. And we start seeing a lot more of these tools and a lot more of these requirements coming from people. And it got me to another thing that I did, which was this thing. Okay, I created a new course in WebRTCcourse.com, where I have today courses. I had courses for developers, and now there is a course there for support. If you need to support WebRTC, you need to understand WebRTC from a point of view of support, you can just go there and check, and get the data that you need and get the training that you need for that.
Another great idea, because in the long term of this industry, there needs to be some kind of standardization, doesn't there, where people who are hiring support people know that they reach a certain level.
Yes, and from my discussions, every company either has some kind of support training presentation somewhere that they give or don't give to their teams, and they need to somehow learn. And it's kind of a mess there. So I saw the opportunity to create this and to help these companies, and I'm actually enjoying it because it's, for me. Let me stop this because we don't. It's last slide. For me, it changes who I'm speaking with and who I'm talking to, and the interactions are very different. You can change the layout. Yes.
We're back together, Tsahi.
Yes. So now I see you as well, and not only my presentation. So these are the type of things that I like doing, talking to different types of people, understanding different things that are happening, and from there trying to find the connections and to see what can be done to help them out.
Yes. Now, I mean, but it's one thing to practically help an individual client, but just coming back to that kind of standardization thing. Back in the early days of Asterisk, of course, it was the DCAP that was created, the Digium Certified Asterisk Professional. And when people like Steve Sokol and Ulle Johansson put their heads together to do something like that, the idea was that that would become the de facto standard. Is that an idea you have, or is it really more about just helping individual companies at the moment?
I don't have any big aspirations. I don't want to change the world. It's for me, I do things small. So if I help a few people and they're happy, I'm happy. If they tend to be a bit more of these people out there that get my help, that's fine. So thinking that far ahead, no, I'm obviously not. It's the same.
Every big change comes in small steps.
Yes, you asked about Cranky Geek. So every year we do the event, we finish the event, and then we deal with the question, is this the last event or not? Okay, it's not about changing the world or doing things grandiose or whatever. It's fun.
And I'm guessing from the ticket price, it was not about making money.
No, we do need the sponsors to pay so that we can put that event and have it. But no, it was never about the money. It started because there was no good event for WebRTC for developers at the time. We wanted to create one. There was an opportunity to do a one-off event. It was fun. We had fun, so let's do another one, and that was fine. We did another one later, and it's like that every year. So if there is going to be an event in 2020, maybe. Do I know if that's going to happen? Not yet. Do we know where it's going to happen? Nope. When? Nope.
Pretty free form. And how did you end up getting Chad Hart involved? Because it was just you and Chris to start with, wasn't it?
Google suggested.
Right.
And
fair enough.
It also made sense because we started as a half-day event. Now it's a full-day event. So we started with 6-7 sessions. Now there are 13, 15 sessions in a day. We curate the event. So all of the sessions are handpicked by us. And each speaker needs to go through, it's torturing. We ask for the slides in advance. So we get slides 2 or 3 weeks before the event.
You do actually get slides from some of the presenters, Tsahi?
Yes, we ended up firing a speaker once because we didn't like what he did. We go through the slides, through the decks. We give comments and ask for modifications. Then we go through another round. Then there's a dry run. On the week of the event itself, everyone goes through a dry run. At least one, some need 2 or 3 times to do the dry run until we're happy with the results. And then you get the actual event where most, if not all, of the sessions are pure gold in terms of the content. So
yes.
There is a lot of work involved in there and a lot of love that goes into doing that. Being able to be, the 3 of us take different roles in Cranky Geek, and each one falls into this role of, when we complete each other in the things that we're doing and the way that we do things. So it works really well as us being a threesome, doing all of these things.
Yeah, all excellent sessions. But just looking back over them, I mean, you had some great speakers. I was particularly impressed with Sean Dubois from Pion. And, of course, Tim Panton is always a very practical man with his demos and things. But any other particular highlights from this one Tsahi, as you said, all of it is gold. That's a given. But any particular highlights stand out in your mind?
I don't even remember what the sessions were. So let me just open the YouTube channel to see the faces of the people. Let's see.
While you're looking, I will commend you on a very, very well-organized event and very, very well attended as well. There was a huge line of people queuing up, but all of the organization around it was excellent.
Yes, and Google surprises us every year with new things that we need to deal with. This time it was, they said that they are closing registration 70 hours before. So it's like we had, we looked historically in the last 72 hours, we usually get 25% of the people registering.
Right.
And we had to get them registered sooner. So that was also, we took a few white hairs.
Yeah, that is a challenge for sure.
Yeah. So looking at Tim Panton, definitely. He's always great. This is why we bring him almost every year whenever he can. I like the one from Phantom Auto. Not because it talked about cars and remote driving, but because it deals with real life issues of, I have WebRTC, I need to embed it somewhere, but hey, I need an external encoder, for example. And the same came from from Lifesize on how they added 4K and placed WebRTC inside the room system.
Yeah, I was quite surprised there because the cynical part of me would see Lifesize as part of the old school, and there they were, talking about new stuff.
And I think that's the thing that is most interesting, because WebRTC is everywhere. We just don't know about that minor fact. So I had a call earlier with a client of TestRTC, and the call was on Microsoft Teams. And I didn't install anything. I just clicked and it worked. I still have Skype for Business installed somewhere on this PC, and I hate it whenever it pops up. But Microsoft is doing WebRTC, and so does Cisco and Avaya and Polycom and everyone.
Now you've mentioned the Microsoft word. Cranky Geek is, of course, one of the very rare events where you get all four major browser people together in one room, and that's an achievement in itself. But how much of a surprise was it this year about Edge moving to Chromium?
So, first of all, getting all four of them in the room into a panel surprised me a lot. Chad suggested it, and we took it beginning to end. So we asked why we have Chad to do these kinds of things. As I said, I'm doing the small stuff. 4 browser vendors, same room, doing a panel. No, can't be done. That's me.
It is massive. I can't think of any other recent event where they've all been there.
As for Chromium, yes, that was a huge surprise. But if you think about it, it makes so much sense under someone like Satya Nadella that it's, why didn't they do it earlier? I think that there can be 2 things good out of that. First of all, it seems that Microsoft is actually going to add stuff into their browser that I might actually want to use it. So I'm waiting until the icon, in my Windows 10 is going to switch to the new Edge logo, so I can start using that. It should happen next week or something like that. So I'm waiting for that. And the second thing, I think that Microsoft actually has the clout to come to Google and say, these parts of Chrome are pure crap. We need to replace that. Here's the code. Now get it over it and over with and put it in there because we want and need it. And it will be hard for them to say no, because my assumption is that for Microsoft to cede over, Google had to give them something. And that something might be a bit of control over parts of what happens inside Chromium itself as a project. Same as happened with Slack and Atlassian, where Slack simply got all of the customers of HipChat, and Atlassian invested in Slack at the same time. So there's probably is a give and take in there that we're not aware of, but is happening.
And yes, and you 3 guys, you, Chris, and Chad, are facilitating that, aren't you, by actually getting these people together? Because although they're all making individual presentations, there's obviously interplay and chatting behind the scenes at an event like yours.
Yes, but again, I don't like seeing myself as the cause. They have all of each other's email addresses and phone numbers. In order to get the guy from Microsoft, we had to ask Google who they are working with, because the connections that we had into Microsoft weren't in the Edge team, they were in the WebRTC standardization team. So we had Bernard Boba, and we've got the who was it last year that spoke from the UWP.
I'm afraid I can't help,
yes,
because
so
this was my first Cranky Geek.
I just so bad with names. So it's we just build this stuff as we move along with them. If it works, great. If not, then we move on. So it really depends on the people that want to be there with us and help us in putting these events and bring their stories. There are companies that I hunt year in and year out to speak at Cranky Geek. They always say no. The moment they will say yes, I will be very happy to just have them present and talk about what they are doing.
Great stuff. Well, actually, here's your opportunity, Tsahi. Is there any companies you want to mention specifically that might be watching ClueCon Weekly? That you want to,
No, I can just
in?
assume that if I need them, I can just hunt them down. Some of them
Fair
are my
enough.
clients, and they don't like to fly, or reasons that are unrelated to anything real.
Fair enough. Okay, well, we're drawing to a close now, and we've seen that you have WebRTC courses at various different levels, including not only developers, but now for support people as well. And you showed us your diagnostic. Can you tell us the name of that diagnostic again, and how to find more information about that, please?
So that's the network testing tool that we have. We are going to call it Quality RTC, in a minor rebranding that we're going to do to our product line. You can find it on testrtc.com.
Can you say Desk Star?
Test RTC.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I was missing Test RTC.
Yes, testrtc.com. And we are going to have a webinar in a week and a half with Joao Gaspel from TalkDesk of what they're doing with it, and more how their support team works and how they make use of that tool as part of the things that they are doing.
Okay, and if people wanted to sign up for that webinar, Tsahi, what would they do?
Go to our blog inside. We made it really hard to register. I'm serious. So you need to go to the TestRTC website, from there to the blog, from the blog to the last post, from the last post to the landing page, and there you can register.
Okay. You're making it a challenge for people to sign up.
Yes, which is, thinking about it wasn't the smartest idea.
And just in general, if people want to get hold of you, because when people think about thought leadership and WebRTC, your name is one of those that comes up to the top. How would people track you down if they wanted to consult with you or find out what your views are and things?
So through bloggeek.me, TestRTC, WebRTC course, my LinkedIn page, email, Twitter, whatever. Everything works.
Great. Okay, well, Tsahi, it's been great having you on. Thank you very, very much for coming on ClueCon Weekly. We're very delighted to have had you on. We wish you well, and because this is a moving target, I hope we'll get to have you on again before too long.
I'll be happy. Thank you, David.
Great. All the best.